The month of November is National Diabetes Month, and that means, well, I'm an advocate. I want to tell you about all of the questions that I get asked as a type 1 diabetic. I love talking about diabetes. It's something that's of interest to me, and it's something that I think a lot of people would like to know more about. So, here are a list of some dumb questions. Some maybe not so dumb, but a lot of different types of questions that I get asked as a type 1 diabetic. What's the difference between type 1 diabetic and a type 2 diabetic? A type 1 diabetic needs insulin to survive. I would not be here if it weren't for the fact of insulin and an insulin pump that I use. Now, a type 2 diabetic is a little bit different. You tend to see that more in older people. I'm going to say over the age of 40. And they mostly get it because they don't have, they can be overweight. They have too much body mass. And their pancreas just isn't working at 100%. So they're not getting enough insulin for their body, whereas my body, as a type 1, I produce little to no insulin, hence why I have to take shots and use my insulin pump. Do you have the worst type of diabetes? It depends on if you look at the glass, if it's half empty or half full. I personally think that I have the better type of diabetes. I was actually diagnosed at an early age, and I was able to get it caught very quickly, and I was able to let it grow into, myself. I think the people with type 2 diabetes that are diagnosed later on in life, a lot of older people tend to be stuck in their ways, and they have their normal eating habits and the way that they've been living their life for the last 50 years. And for me, it's different because I was 9. I liked sugar before that, yeah, obviously, as most kids do. But I was able to teach myself not to go after that candy bar, not to eat all those snacks, not to eat, 10 pieces of pizza, just to watch out for, all of the stuff. And it made me get on a lifetime diet, and that's why I think it's better. Will it ever get any better? No, type 1 diabetes will never get better. If anything, it's going to get worse. So you have to treat it, you have to take care of yourself, and you need to do what your doctor tells you to do. What caused you to become a type 1 diabetic? Honestly, my doctor told me that I became diabetic or type 1 diabetic because I was stressed. And how much stress does a 9-year-old go through? Well, normally not that much, but I am the oldest of 4 children. My parents were in the middle of a divorce, fighting constantly, and I was under a lot of stress for a 9-year-old apparently. I have no family history, and that's where, most diabetics get their diabetes from. Also from ethnic backgrounds and your age, possibly. Not really for type 1s, but for type 2s. And a combination of different medications, which again, I think that's more for type 2s than for type 1s, but all reasons why you can become a diabetic. Seriously? You can't have sugar? Well, I'm not supposed to have sugar. I watch what I eat. I don't have a craving for candy bars like most people do. I can have my sweets in moderation as long as I'm giving myself insulin to counteract that. So obviously, if I have a candy bar, I have to give myself more insulin and fix it. When I have low blood sugar, I have to have sugar. I need it. My blood sugar is low, my hands get shaky. If I don't have sugar or a glass of orange juice or a candy bar or, something, I could pass out. And obviously, you don't want that to happen. Paramedics are not fun. Well, why would you take too much insulin? I do not take extra insulin intentionally. It happens as an accident. I thought I was going to eat more than I actually ate. I thought something had more sugar in it than it actually did. Sometimes I have a pump failure. It's not something I do intentionally, and why would you even think that? So, how do you give yourself insulin? Do you give yourself shots? Do you stab yourself with it? I give myself insulin through an insulin pump. My meter works with my insulin pump and automatically gives me insulin all the time. Do not stab myself. I used to give myself shots with a regular needle and a vial of insulin, but that was when I was first diagnosed. And then I was on insulin pens for a while as well, which pretty much the same thing. You just don't have to refrigerate the insulin. They were both okay. I prefer my pump a lot better, and it keeps me in more control, and I'm always getting insulin, so I don't have to worry about going super high at all during the day. Do you always have to wear an insulin pump? Like, what do you do when you shower and stuff? Is it waterproof? Yes, I always have to wear an insulin pump. If I don't, my blood sugars go high, within an hour, I'm going to say. I do not take it off when I go in the shower. It is on my skin for 3 days and does not come off. But the pump itself is waterproof. The testing machine, whatever you want to call it, that is not waterproof. And usually that stays in my purse until I need it. Do you manage your diabetes well? Like, how do you compare to someone who's not a type 1 diabetic? Of course, my blood sugar is higher than a non-diabetic. I'm a diabetic, so that's what happened when you have diabetes. But normal blood sugar ranges for a non-diabetic would be between 70 and 140. Like I said before, my average was between 170 to 200, which is higher, but it's not high enough that I'm going to have any complications. And I just need to get it down into, a normal range and fix my blood sugars. How often do you have to check your blood sugar level? I check my blood sugars on average between 6 and 7 times per day. And that means pricking my finger and putting it into the machine. I do this every time before I eat, before I go to bed, and in the middle of the night. So I'm waking up at 3 a.m. every single night. What's the hardest part about being a diabetic? Can't be that hard. The hardest part about being a diabetic is the simple fact that I grew up so fast. And I lost part of my childhood because of that. I think that's what the hardest part was. But it's also like a constant worry that something possibly could go wrong and that the effects that it could do something on me. And, relationships can get infected too. Low blood sugars cause me to be angry and defensive and refuse to drink a glass of juice. Having type 1 diabetes is not a life killer. You can still go out and hang out with your friends and party and do what you need to do. It just makes you learn about yourself, learn about your body, and you start to treat yourself better. So don't think that type 1 diabetes is something that, is going to ruin the rest of your life. Because to be completely honest, it's made my life. I've met so many great people because of being type 1 diabetic that I never would have met before. And I would have never really known what a diabetic was until you know somebody with it or you deal with it yourself. I don't have the worst type of diabetes, but it's made me grow up and it's made me get stronger and it's made me who I am.